An estimated 200,000 children in Ukraine's orphanages and foster homes are needing support. Well, this comes as thousands are unaccounted for, and there are fears many have fallen prey to people traffickers. Aerial Recovery, a charity composed of former US military veterans, are assisting vulnerable people fleeing the crisis and working with the Ukrainian authorities to establish a system that will help protect and evaluate some of the vulnerable children. Well, joining us now is Jeremy Locke, who is the Chief of Operations at that charity, Aerial Recovery, which has been assisting vulnerable people fleeing the crisis. And we're very grateful to have you with us, Jeremy Locke. Tell us a little bit more about what you are doing in your charity to help these children.
Yes, we're doing our best to ensure that we need to, first of all, it's a terrible situation out there, and these poor children are trapped in war-torn areas. They're being shelled. They're being caught up in the middle of this war. And the sense of urgency to move them from these areas and get them out of Ukraine is great right now. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get people to pause a little bit and not take them directly over borders. We do have, we've been able to rescue 266 orphans so far. And we're working directly with the government to move them from these dangerous areas in the east and then over to safer areas in the west, so we can maintain accountability of them and we can ensure that they don't go across a border unless the Ukraine government is aware of them moving.
So tell me a little bit more about exactly how this works, because you go into Ukraine, do you? You know where you're going. I mean, what happens when you arrive at the orphanages?
So we receive requests from them to be evacuated. This might come directly from the orphan directors or the caregivers or someone who's in contact with them. And once we receive those requests, we call them directly and we find out exactly where they are. Some of them are very far east behind Russian lines, and it's difficult or impossible to reach them, but some of them are about to be swallowed up by advancing Russian troops. So once we get that call, we vet it, we get in contact with them, and we use our network, or we physically go there ourselves, and we retrieve these orphans and we start moving them west.
And what sort of conditions did you find in the orphanages when you got there?
I mean, it's terrible. Most of them have abandoned the orphanages themselves and have found any sort of cellar or basement that they can hunker down in until they're in direct combat. So we go and, you see these poor kids, and sometimes they're alone with one or two caregivers that are there, and they're scared, they're cold, they're hungry, and they don't really understand what's going on. In a lot of cases, they're very young or disabled, and we do our best to comfort them and move them. And it's a long process. Ukraine is a large country. It takes, even after they've been hunkered down for a week or so, it can take us up to 20 hours to move them to safer areas in the West.
You say you do your best to comfort them, but these children must be absolutely terrified. How can you possibly do that?
It is difficult, but we bring them blankets and food, and we show them kindness, and we get them to somewhere warm. We let them sleep as much as possible. We work with social workers and experts in that area, and we have a medical team that is there on standby to treat anybody that might be injured. It's a matter of warming them up and kind of slowing things down for them, and just being as kind as we possibly can.
And they go with you willingly, do they? I just wondered, I suppose, how you have got official approval for the plan and how they know that it's safe to go with you.
Yeah, so we do work in partnership with Ukraine government. We work with their Ministry of Defense and their Administration of Social Affairs. So it's like their Child Protective Administration. So when we receive a request, we push it to them and they give us the authority to go over there. We're in contact with whoever's in charge of the orphans out there, as well as the government, and they know that we're coming. We aren't coming there with weapons or anything like that. We're there with a little bit of defensive stuff for us because it is very dangerous, but they are expecting us to get there, and they're ready to get out of there. They're scared. It's loud. Like I said, it's cold. It's dark, and they are ready to move. So when we get there, we see them very, very motivated to get out of those areas.
Jeremy Locke, Chief Operations Officer at Aerial Recovery. Thank you so much for joining us here on BBC News. Thank you.